Alright, so the balance patch just dropped. Terran got nerfed pretty hard, even though I feel like the other races are probably stronger. Um, I feel obligated to make a video, and I'm gonna include some GSL clips from yesterday. Just a little bit about me. I've been playing StarCraft since Wings of Liberty, since it got released. I've been Master 15 times. I have over 17,000 games played. I've watched every GSL and WCS since the game came out. So I feel like I'm somewhat informed on what's overpowered and what's not. I played the last 2 days, and I've played probably about 100 to 150 games. I feel like the maps are, in 1v1, they don't seem too bad. I played some 2v2. I know the game isn't balanced around 2v2, but the 2v2 maps are absolutely horrendous. They're ginormous. Protoss and Zerg have huge advantages on them because of Nidus and Recall. Cyclones are absolute trash right now. There's a reason Maru didn't make a single one. Widow Mines got nerfed into the ground, and I think you'll see in these games, but after he played Hero, I think he Widow Mine dropped every game, and they got almost nothing done every game. We're gonna jump into it, but he did some other harasses, and they were unsuccessful. And I think Maru realized that you can't harass Protoss anymore. It's almost impossible, at least against Hero. It is possible to harass Classic because he never builds warp or shield batteries, which is idiotic. It's one of the most overpowered things that Protoss has. I mean, really, I think Classic killed himself. I don't understand why you wouldn't build shield batteries to protect your workers. State makes a comment early on. Terran has so many openings to do damage. Wow, State. Really, what are the openings that Terran can do? I know 2 openings, and both of them aren't even that good. You have a build that Harstem showcased recently, which was a Marauder Rush build that, I mean, even out of his mouth, even his words, he said, this probably won't work against Grandmaster players. He does end up beating a couple of them, but it was a close game every time. And these are all in builds, you know. If you don't kill the Protoss, then you probably, like, initially and do damage, you're gonna lose. And the times he won, they dropped batteries really late. So, in my opinion, if you're Protoss and you don't drop batteries early, you're an idiot. Straight up, stop. The second build you can do, or second harass build you can do, is Widow Mines. Well, Widow Mines have been nerfed to the ground. They give you a notification now that they're going off. So if you're a Protoss and you get Widow Mine dropped and they do damage, you're an idiot. And that's about it. You know, there's nothing else. You'll see in this video, and I'm just going to show you GSL Round of 8 Group A. Just clips from that. And you see even, I believe it was Maru, I believe, or it was Maru Beyond, but they went and did a Liberator harassment. They throw the Liberator on the line, and a Stalker runs up, and it just heals the Stalker. The battery out heals a Liberator. I don't understand the balancing committee. I mean, I do, because they're all Protoss and Zerg, so obviously they're biased. They're not going to let Terran get anything decent. Maru beats Classic twice because he's really, really good. See, if Classic was Terran, he would be Gold or Platinum. But since he's Protoss, he's in GSL. I mean, it's actually insane. So why don't we jump into it? We'll take some looks at it, and I'll offer my opinions on insane shit that I saw during this GSL. A lot of the stuff that I'm going to complain about was unaffected by the balance patch, but I'm just showcasing what's overpowered by Protoss. I'm not going to sit here and nitpick on the balance patch, because, I mean, Maru doesn't even build Cyclones at all, and he doesn't even build mines. after he loses to Hero. So the things that get nerfed, Maru doesn't even build. And, you know, obviously the Liberator range got nerfed. It's almost no effect on the game at all. They did that to prevent people from being able to put Liberators on people's mineral lines, them be out of range of ground units, which honestly I think that's insane too, because it's like, oh, so Protoss just doesn't have to build air units ever, is what you're trying to tell me. And you know, it just blows my mind. It's like the balancing committee is building the game so that Protoss can build whatever they want, and Terran are forced to build certain things around the Protoss. It's stupid. Let's jump into some clips. So this is the first clip. You're gonna see Maru's gonna attack. He's gonna kill a shit ton of workers, and he's still gonna be behind even though he did a shit ton of damage. And watch how sick his micro is. This is like beyond any rank that Protoss could achieve. Like, he's infinitely better than Protoss.
And with this poke, I mean, you got to imagine Classic could be pretty vulnerable here. The sentry's out. I don't know if it quite has the energy to use any spells here. The Reaper barely gets away. This control is insane here from Mark. What?
Oh, wow.
This is the greatest control I've ever seen.
Yeah, that Reaper just barely survived.
What?
Oh, the Stalker goes down too. There's no shield battery here in the natural.
I can't believe how good Maru's control. This is wild.
I mean, the Cyclone's even packing less a punch because it doesn't have that same stutter step.
I mean, look at that. He even gets the last, that last
he gets
probe.
A sentry. He trades out the Reaper and a couple Marines.
That might have been the best control I've seen in the last couple seasons of GSL. Seriously, that was crazy how good that was. Yeah, that was.
So there's a few minutes later, you can see that Classic is still ahead despite all that damage that he did.
A couple gateway units.
I mean, you can't, even if you do damage to Protoss, they're still ahead of you. There's no slowing them down, and you're almost forced into late game. Okay, this is the next clip. This is game 2. Maru is up 1 upgrade. They just finished. They're about to engage. Maru's up about 6 or 7 supply. He disables all the Colossus. And now watch what happens here.
Stim, combat shields, all researched, so Maru has been lining up for this timing for quite a while. Those Ravens very high on energy. Interference Matrix could shut down those Colossi. Sim coming in. Colossi immediately disabled there in the front. Only 1 sentry, so just a couple of force fields going down. Every single Colossus is disabled. No shield battery here at the third base. Maru, he's trying to stim forward and snipe the Colossi. Hasn't been able to get them. Finally, they can attack again. Reinforcing Zealots coming through, and I think Classic might barely just be able to survive.
But with all 3 of the Colossi here, it's definitely possible. I thought he would have at least taken out one of them. He did a lot of damage, though. Keep in mind that it's going to be pretty easy for Maru to...
So, I mean, what was the result of that? Maru was ahead. He disables all the Colossus, and they're even in supply pretty much. I mean, he's only down by 6 supply. It was down by 7 before. I mean, Classic survives. He has all his high-tech units, and no batteries were present here. You're going to see clips of batteries later. That is kind of busted. Like, you know, he should have been able to kill him there, but and the problem here is the Zealots. Zealots have way too much health on this game. Like, why do they have so much health? They're absolute tanks. These Zealots had no armor upgrade. His Marines had a weapon and armor upgrade. And yet still, he barely breaks even. So this next clip is going to demonstrate how bad Classic is. And, I mean, obviously comparing him to Maru, he's not even close. But he is able to make it to GSL as a Protoss. You know, if you had this bad of emergency management as a Terran, you wouldn't break gold. But watch how bad Classic is. And he's at GSL playing Maru.
Classic's army is about as far away as it could reasonably be.
I think he's afraid of the base at 3 o'clock, but actually he could just fly in here.
Okay, he pulls his probes there. Good job.
The tank could even hit from there? That's crazy to me.
The starport and
you know, Terran has to do damage here.
Already some damage going down. He's going to go for the robotics bay, but there's a little bit of a concern here for
Look at this. His probes come back. He kills 2 probes. Okay. Classic, do you plan to pull your workers, or are you going to wait till next year? Loses 17 workers. There's nothing else going on the map. What is he looking at? This dude has like 10 effective APM probably. So this next clip is going to demonstrate how overpowered shield batteries are. This guy has several Vikings hitting his Colossus, and they just simply can't kill them. Now, in what reality is it balanced to have a unit that can't die? Probably none. Especially when you invest, 20, 30 supply on units to kill one type of unit.
Attacking over here now. Right now, Morrow is getting a whooping back at home, but does he have enough to possibly bust this down? We know that.
Look at this shit. Healing. Healing. It doesn't. Healing.
Dude, he's kept the Colossi alive for so long, but regardless.
Look at that, dude.
So much here.
I mean, that needs to be nerfed. I mean, what in the hell? They need to just remove shield batteries. They're so busted. Who in this game, other than a Protoss player, thinks that the batteries are balanced? Because they're not. The game was designed with no batteries. And then they just say, oh yeah, we'll just add these into the game. It'll be fine, whatever. And it's insane. So this next clip is going to demonstrate the usage of Templars and Warp Prisms and how busted they are. There's no way to counter them as a Terran. You send your army in as a Protoss, and then once the Terran's engaged, you just fly the Prism in as close as you need to be, storm the shit out of them. And honestly, Hero loses this game, but it's due to poor decision making. He decided to warp his army in at the enemy base instead of defend himself, so he lost. But let me play the clip.
Hero might need to recall a small number of units to deal with that.
Here's the Warp Prism right here. I mean, it's like, what do you say? You can't EMP this. There's nothing you can do.
Medevac drop in the main base, but here we go. Storm is ready. Warp Prism. Templar grinding down really good storms right here on all of the bio. Just gets evaporated.
I mean, if you put Zealots in front of the, you have Zealots charging the army, you can bring the Prism in, super close. And you can storm for days. There's no way for the Terran to run because the Warp Prism's fast as hell. So, I mean, if my suggestion to fix this would be to make it so you can EMP a Warp Prism and actually hit the units inside. But even then, it's still super overpowered. I think Templar range needs to be nerfed, and the radius of the storm needs to be nerfed. So this next clip is going to show how busted disruptors are, and I mean, even this isn't the best display of this. You can basically, if you have 4 or 5, you can sit there and shoot disruptor balls at the Terran non-stop, and the Terran can never push your army. And it's actually comical because State will sit here in this cast and sit there and say, the Terran has to attack. The Terran has to attack. Well, I mean, I know you want the Terran to attack, State, so that he gets absolutely obliterated. But the Terran simply can't attack. The only option for Terran is to, harass. And even then, this dude has shield batteries everywhere. So you send a dropship, the Marines will shoot, they'll kill 0 workers. The Protoss warps in a few Zealots, boom, they're defended. So it's I mean, you can't do damage to these guys.
Extension there from Hero. Keep in mind he's not maxed out. It wasn't like he could trade those.
I mean, how is he supposed to? How is he supposed to do damage here? You know,
such a good position in between these 2 staircases to kind of pelt
the Terran knows he can't push that army. It's impossible. So this next clip is gonna show an engagement between these guys. The Protoss literally hits F2, A, and then clicks. There's 0 micro going down. He makes no effort to control his disruptors. It's actually pitiful. Meanwhile, the Terran is splitting, getting a perfect arc, dropping EMPs. You know, it's sad.
These bases that are a little bit more hard to defend. You see Hero, he's just trying to find a hole in the armor. Right. I think he's pressuring there because he doesn't want the siege tanks to come all the way down here. Yeah. He wants to force Bjorn into a position where he doesn't really have the best arc.
Oh, this arc, by the way, insane for Bjorn.
Oh, that disruptor shot, that was huge! 2 of them pop off! And if Hero turns around and takes this fight, I think it's going to be a win for him.
Now, again, there's no SCVs mining at this base. In fact, the 4th base is lifted off.
Yeah,
that's all Hero has to do. Yeah, he can't take it.
He just has to bleed Bjorn out.
Remember, guys, Hero doesn't have to come in here for the killing blow.
Okay, so this game is a game where Maru gets killed pretty early on. Maru knows the only harass that works against Protoss is Widowmine drops. So Hero knows that Maru knows that. So what does Hero do? He pushes Maru early on. He knows he's gonna have 0 units because he's going for Widow Mines. And I mean, basically he kills him with Stalkers early game and shield batteries, of course.
Conversely, Hero could just run up the ramp and kill him. Thank God
So let's see how much
close.
damage Maru gets done here.
Hero pushing up the ramp right now is going to focus down the first supply.
Maru can't turn around. He'll never get the mines burrowed.
He's not coming home. He only has this one Marine. There are no bio units at all on the ground right now for Maru. SCV's unable to get this around here. There is a shield.
Let's see how well the mines do. Oh, four probes. Now he actually does get a good hit here, but he's dead at home because he has no units.
Coming down in. Some nice hits, 13 probes in total, but there's just so
I
many
mean,
stalkers right.
You know, the Protoss is able to defend no problem, you know, because they're mines. They get their shot off. They don't have cloak anymore because they nerfed the whole armory thing. So he, you know, Hero knows he's good at home. He has his whole army, which is a bunch of stalkers. And Maru has nothing because Cyclones are nerfed. You know, I mean, how does Terran defend that this early in the game? It's pretty much impossible unless you build an army at home and just keep it at home. But remember, State said you have to harass. Well, how do you harass? You can't harass if you're getting attacked like this. The Protoss is already up on 2 bases. I mean, what is the Terran supposed to do? And Maru knows this. He thinks it's insane. So this is actually from the same game. It's towards the end of it. Maru was super behind the whole game, so nobody expected him to actually win this. But watch this Warp Prism micro. You know, the Protoss doesn't even send his units in first. He just brings the Prism in, drops them out, and storms.
You know, Maru's one of the best players in the world and just kind of slowing this down. What a stim.
Yeah.
Or not a stim, excuse me, the storm.
It was so well done. It's interesting.
I mean, how do you stop that? That needs to be nerfed. Like, I don't know what they need to do, but they need to nerf the fuck out of that, because that's insane. So at this point, Maru is basically like, well, mines don't work. Surely a turret will work from a Raven. Let's see how that works.
That blink pressure just to get other bases up and running. Ooh. He's gonna have to turn that around.
Oh.
Yeah, Raven dropping on turret here, the natural expansion.
Oh man, it's almost like the shield battery's overpowered or something. I don't know, dude.
So many things going well for Hero.
I wonder what's gonna happen here. Surely this will be a good clip or high skill Protoss play that is totally defendable by the Terran.
Oh, good opportunity here for Storm.
Oh my God, the greatest storms ever. And now I think the CC has to live. Yeah, but the SCVs are stuck outside.
Hero has so many storms east.
I mean, what is the Terran supposed to do here? I don't really know.
Storm 2.
Let's see what this Widow Mine drop does.
Into the third
Is Hero watching?
He should get an alert, yeah. Actually just sees it, and he's going to take down another medevac too. Only going to lose a handful of
Oh,
probes.
nice. He just...
Prism, or not more.
I like it. He just lost, you know, 400 or 500 minerals with the units to get 3 probes. Clearly balanced. So this next one I'm gonna show you. This is Classic versus BN. You'll see what happens. I mean, really, Classic is like 10 IQ. Like, he has no batteries ever. I don't know what he's doing.
Okay, Oracle in the main base right now taking down SCVs. Classic should know that there isn't enough Terran here, that something is coming cross map. In fact, he's just going to recall the Stalkers here. Expecting Widow Mine drop, actually going for the surround on the Marines. Wait, it's only one Stalker? Did he mismicro that?
Well, he must have.
Wait, no, there's only one alive. That was the only Stalker he's got. He just warped in another one. Oh, this is very awkward.
He still hasn't killed any probes, which is actually funny.
To kind of take this fight correctly.
Yeah, well, if he mineral walks to the third base, he can get a surround on the Marines. Instead, the probe's kind of getting picked off. Now, luckily with an Oracle.
Alright, so right here, Bien gets a Banshee. It does almost nothing, by the way.
Back here.
Oh, force field could be so huge right there. Didn't get taken out. Cloak Banshee, it has to be going into the main base. Yeah, it's right there in the main. Probes already pulled, though. Not that many workers going down. Only 2 probes in total.
So he invested 250 to 300, something like that, minerals or resources for a Banshee that gets 2 kills. You know what I mean? Like, these are Terrans trying to figure out a way to harass these Protoss, and it's almost impossible. Even against Classic, who has 10 IQ. So, I mean, what are the Terrans supposed to do, State? I want State... You know what I would love to do is see State play Terran and get beyond Platinum. If he could break Platinum, I would be shocked. And better yet, I would like to see State play Bjorn with State as Terran and Bjorn as Protoss. Who do you think would win 99.9% of the time? I'll give you a hint. It'd probably be Bjorn, because Protoss is OP as fuck. And there's no way to harass Protoss right now. So this basically shows how OP Protoss is because you could wipe out half their army. And then they remax on something like Carrier. And it's virtually impossible to get an army generated to counter these.
Extended, generating threats. He's going to come up here to that 4th base now. It is actually... Oh, no, it is a planetary. Okay, for a second I was like, oh, it's an orbital?
That might be the mothership on the right side of the minimap going towards the main base.
He might want to recall everything into the main.
He might.
That actually could be a pretty cool way to end this game.
With an army like this one, too. Oh, okay. Watch this. Getting caught out of position right now is Classic. Does have a good number of Templar. I'm not sure if Storm is ready just yet. Engagement coming in. And he's actually on the Templar. Okay, Storm is done. Mothership entering the main base right now here for Bjorn. We'll get a shot of it. Recall coming in. Is it going to finish in time? It will.
Sick.
All over the production right now. The Templar are fanning out. Only 1 Storm at the disposal, but keep in mind, Classic, if he doesn't like this engagement, he can just recall back home too.
Yeah, that's a good
it's
point.
so clumped! Double Storm right there, and all the Marauders.
Marines
now coming in. A second recall, and the Marines do get on top, so 1 carry is going to go down, but that's a lot of damage done.
I mean, what is the Terran supposed to do against that? You know, Marines are not a counter to carriers. Even if he had all Marines, no Marauders, like a perfect ground army composition, you have to have Vikings to kill this army to even have a chance. Not only that, you need to be able to EMP all the carriers. Is it balanced that he can recall in his main and then recall home? I personally think they should get some kind of recall debuff, like cannot be recalled for a minute or something, or 2 minutes. Because being able to do something like that is like, you could sit there and be like, yo, this is a big brain play. Well, that's great and all, but it's also completely overpowered. So I'm just going to play this clip of what State says during the stream.
I think it just didn't go well, but I feel like if Bjorn goes for an opening, maybe do some very early harassment and then kind of pivot towards a timing attack as opposed to this continued repeated harassment. This keeps getting cleaned up.
Well, I just didn't feel like we saw that much of a plan from Bjorn later on. You know, and again, what we know just from the Mario games, what you're supposed to do now, right? I mean, you know, that wall of turrets and tacking up into Vikings with mass SCVs for repair apparently is the way to do it.
I mean, even 3CC is pretty good against it. You know, you just kind of play the macro game up there with the Protoss. It's just that isn't really Bjorn's style.
Yeah.
Holy shit, State. Let me stop you right there. First, you're like, he should harass and then do a timing attack. Well, harass and then timing attack isn't really a thing. You're either doing timing attacks or you're doing harassment macro into a late game. You know what I mean? Second of all, this whole 3CC thing he's saying, you can't just sit there and make 3CC early game against a Protoss. Expect to get all 3 command centers down, because Protoss is going to be at your front door stopping that. And even if they're not, and you go 3CC and you don't push the Protoss, they're going to out macro you no matter what. Everybody knows this. Terran has always been a race that's known for having to harass to slow down your opponent. If you don't harass them, Zerg and Protoss always get ahead, no matter what. I've been there. I've tried it a million times in 1v1 where, oh yeah, I'm gonna out macro the Protoss. That legit never works, because once you let Protoss get those Colossus, get the Templar, get those high-tech units, you're pretty screwed. And I mean, you can't, you know, once you're at that point, you can be like, well, you can like kind of do some drops and then push them. Well, you need every single one of your units to beat these Protoss, like army versus army. You can't have shit across the map and expect to win. because 100 supply with a Terran is probably even to about 60 supply Protoss, realistically, maybe 70. You can't have less units, even as a defensive Terran, and expect to survive. So in this next clip, you can see Bjorn is up by 9 supply. I believe he's up by 1 upgrade. He disables all the Colossus, and he still gets stomped here. This kind of reinforces what I just said about you have to have way more supply than the Protoss to be able to compete. So let's watch it.
Can Beyond actually get in here? It looks like Classic's really out of position.
Yeah, but this army for Beyond actually looks very small.
Yeah.
All right, interference matrix coming in. Actually gets one of the Tempests too. So all the Colossus are out of the equation right now. The force fields are.
Look at these Zealots, bro. It was like 5 Zealots tanked every. Okay, there's more down here.
I mean, I feel
all
like
of the Colossus are going to
I
survive.
mean,
yeah, he just sort of sidestepped that. Again, a pretty tiny army, all things considered. I think
all that Bjorn lost there, or I'm sorry, all that Classic lost were Zealots. I think he lost like 9 or 10 of them, and Bjorn had to run. He got decimated there. Protoss lost no carriers, no stalkers, and now Bjorn's screwed because he attacked. You can't attack a Protoss anywhere near their batteries. If you do, you're dead. Period. I mean,
I think that now is going to be the counterpunch here from Classic. I think he can actually move out on the map. Now, there's no 4th base for Beyond, by the way.
Yeah, it's still in production.
and yeah, that's another thing. Bjorn was down a base because he was trying to do this timing attack, just like State said, but that does not. You can't attack a Protoss with batteries. It's impossible. Now Classic's ahead of Bjorn.
I mean, that was such a big win for Protoss. Anytime you take an engagement in the mid game like that, or I guess we're now entering the late game very quickly here, as Protoss is taking up so quickly, but you take an engagement like that and you lose the gateway units and you retain all of the high-tech units, you are very happy.
Oh,
And
you're
I agree, State, 100%. Finally, you said something smart. Finally, because all he had to lose was a few Zealots. Bjorn loses everything else. That is not balanced. What is the balancing committee doing? Are they watching these games? I mean, I'm completely confused. All right, here's our next clip. This is another army engagement clip. They are equal on upgrades. Oh, actually, Terran has 2-2. Protoss only has ground weapons 2, air weapons 2. So he has no armor upgrades here. Let's see what happens. I mean, their army values are one supply off. Surely this will be an even fight, right? Oh, and by the way, Bjorn EMPs his entire army.
Bring up for the late game. But Classic's kind of been able to assemble all the pieces in his puzzle. Mothership here too. Time work should get thrown down. Storms as well. The cloak is coming in.
Yeah, the Mothership right now actually doing a
There's
pretty good
no
job of
scan?
tanking.
There was no scan. There was no detection there for Beyond.
I can't believe it.
All he just got is a scan go
he's
down.
like, how much does he have? Oh God, I gotta run away.
That was insane. There was no scan there, right? I mean, I can't believe that. That engagement.
Now State sits there and says there was no scan, there was no scan, but if you EMP somebody's army, you can see them. It looks like he can't hit the units because they're all flying units and all he had left were marauders. So I mean, take it how you want. They had even supplies, and look at the supplies now. They're, I mean, 50 off. The game's over. If you don't have, like, shit tons of Vikings, you can never fight that army. And you have to have more supply in Vikings than they have air, or you're not going to beat them. Now, I wanted to show this clip just so there's no confusion on how overpowered shield batteries are.
For Classic to recover from this.
Oh yeah, I think he has a good chance, but
well, now you could see. I mean, he's gonna be forced to pull back here. It really makes you appreciate how slow Tempests are, by the way. Moments like that where he sets that up. So Maro's.
You would never kill a Stalker with a battery next to it under a Liberator. Isn't that sad? Like, these are expensive units built to kill Stalkers, basically. And up one battery, I don't even know how much they cost, like 75 or 100 minerals, can just sit there and negate entire units. I mean, you saw in the other clip with the Colossus just getting hit and hit by Vikings, and boom, they never die. Yeah, that seems pretty balanced. So anyways, for my final thoughts, State sits there and says, Terran has to do harass and then get out, or do timing attacks, blah blah blah. How do you harass, State? Tell me how you harass. Classic is trash in the GSL scene. Like, he's the lowest Protoss, and he's beaten Yun, who is like probably the number 2 Terran, maybe number 3. I would say Kira is like number 2 maybe, and then Byun. But Byun is a seasoned, great player who has a ton of experience, who's an excellent player, and he's losing to Classic. Let that sink in for a second. I mean, as long as I think batteries are super overpowered. I think carriers should have a reduced range. Like their interceptors shouldn't be able to travel so far from the carrier. I would say the interceptors should have to remain at max 8 range, because it's too easy for Protoss to abuse cliffs with carriers. You know, okay, hear me out. The balancing committee nerf the maps and nerf liberators because you're forced to create air units to kill them, okay? Well, Terran is forced to create air units to kill carriers. What is the fucking difference? We should be, you know, with the balancing committee's logic, we should be able to beat a carrier army with ground units. That's absolutely impossible. I would say even if you have Thors and Marines or just pure Thor, I still don't think you can kill carriers with a max carrier army. Can we get some kind of balancing change on that? Okay, what's next? Templar and Warp Prisms. Holy shit. The size of the explosion from the Templar should be nerfed. I think there should be a visual indicator on the prism that a Templar is inside of it. And you should be able to EMP the Templar inside of it. Can we see that change? I'm not going to go into like Zerg in this video because this GSL was like all TVP, but maybe I'll make a video on that later. What else is overpowered with Protoss? Holy shit, Zealots. They are like living tanks. I mean, you saw in that one clip, both armies fought. All that the Terran killed was like 9 Zealots. And the Terran lost like almost everything. All the high-tech units from the Protoss survived. Disruptors. Holy shit, they're overpowered. Like, if you get 5 of them, you can never push the Protoss army. It's impossible. I mean, we saw in another clip in this GSL of a Terran engaging a Protoss. He had 2 disruptors. You know, the Terran fully committed to the fight. 2 disruptor balls went off, had like amazing landings. There was a 0% chance of that Terran winning. Tell me what Terran units are so overpowered like that. None. I'll tell you the answer. There's none. Storms overpowered. Disruptor balls super overpowered. Terran has no AoE damage ability like a storm or a fungal growth or a disruptor ball. They did, but they got nerfed. So why don't we just remove storm out of the game? Let's remove disruptors if we're gonna just keep nerfing the shit out of Terran. I'm trying to think of what else is overpowered. I mean, really, I would say that's it. I want to sit there and I know observers have been in the game forever, but I can't. Any Terran knows, and even Protoss know how overpowered observers are. And you're probably like, well, Terran has scans, right? Well, when you scan somebody, they can tell that you're scanning them. They can tell that you see them. Observers sit there and you can't see them. You don't know that there's a Protoss, you know, a few units away. So what'll happen is the Protoss is able to like arc his army and push in before you even realize he's coming at your army. And I think that's pretty strong. If I were part of the balancing committee to balance observers, I would make it way easier to identify that an observer is there. Like, you know, right now you can kind of see them when they're moving, but when they stop and hold position, you can't really tell. Even if you like mouse wheel in and out, they're really hard to spot. I think that they need to be more identifiable, like a blur. You know, when they're sitting there, they should spin. When you put them on hold position, they should spin. Or even if you don't hold position them or like park them or whatever that ability is called. They should have some kind of visual thing, because if you're a Terran, even if you scan that observer and kill it, you're still losing 150, 175 minerals. There's still a loss. The observers cost less than that. So, I mean, they're just overpowered. I'm curious to know everybody's opinion on this. Terran, Protoss, Zerg, anybody. Let me know what you think. And if I get enough comments, if this video gains traction, I'll go and I'll make a response video. And we'll discuss things that you guys have to say. But, I mean, right now, I mean, in my opinion, Protoss was already super OP. I think the problem is that Protoss players don't know how overpowered they are. They don't know how to use their abilities. They have a ton of awesome abilities that they just never use, or hardly ever use, like stasis wards, time warps. I mean, you rarely see this stuff, and you know, Terran has such a small arsenal of units and abilities that you can use. And I feel like the other races, Zerg and Protoss, have gotten so much utility over these expansions. You know, they've gotten amazing shit in each expansion. Nidus Canals, Vipers, Swarm Hosts. What has Terran gotten? Hellbats? You don't even see anybody use those because they're trash. They're literally made out of paper. They, you know, you could say, well, counter to Zealots is Hellbats. Yeah, they like die in 2 hits. Like, how useful are those? And I mean, every Terran expansion unit has been nerfed to the ground. You know, Raven got the Seeker missile nerfed, removed, not even nerfed. Cyclones have gotten nerfed to the ground. Widow Mines have gotten nerfed to the ground. Liberators even got a small nerf. It's not something to really complain about because I don't think it's that huge of a nerf. But Terran at this point is just so nerfed that it's literally unplayable. All the Terran friends that I have just quit the game after yesterday. Yeah, I don't want to go into Zerg, but those are my final thoughts. I can't even play the game anymore because I'm sitting here playing people with absolute horrendous micro that should be leagues behind me. But since their race is so OP, they can win. And honestly, I got super pissed about 6 months to a year ago. So I was like, I'm gonna show how OP Zerg and Protoss is. I had 0 games played as Zerg and Protoss in my career. I went and I got mid diamond with Zerg and Protoss in like less than 50 games with each race. And I didn't even know the key bindings. I was clicking everything. And I was playing mirror matches against Diamond Protosses, clicking warps. And I was able to like hit their rank. It's like absolutely sad, dude. Like, so let me know your opinion. Terran, Protoss, Zerg, I'm curious. And if you're a Protoss and you think that Terran is so OP and so easy to play, go play Terran. I want to see you get to the same league level as Terran as you can hit your race. I dare you.